I am discovering me. Discovering me. My identity was hidden, taken from me, long before my ancestors began hanging from trees. The serpent, he was the real thief, deceiving my sister Eve. He made me forget I was royalty. My father is a king. I am the daughter of the everlasting, loving, omniscient three. He came to give me life. This world wants to take it away. He never intended for it to be this way. Free will, a blessing and a curse. Say my name. My life matters. God said it first. Discovering me. Redefining my identity. Made fearfully and wonderfully, flaws and all, my destiny was altered when I heard his call. I can't see where I'm going, but I know what I'm leaving behind. My faith is blind, lamps at my feet as I shoulder his load. I feel light, I see life as I walk the Samaritan road. Hello, everyone. This is Nori, your host of the Discovering Me podcast. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about discovering the journey. So what does that mean? So basically, if you know me, you know that I have had a lot of ideas and a lot of different, we'll say, small businesses that I have thought about pursuing or did pursue. Just different things that kind of brought me to where I am today. So I kind of just wanted to share this with you guys to kind of show that like figuring out what you want to do and where you want to be is not always a linear path. I know, for my sister, you can follow her on Instagram at tk.takira. She does music and she has loved music her entire life. That's just what she's always wanted to do. It's what she's always been good at. She's naturally good at it. She did voice training at school. Music is her thing. And I love that for her. I love that, from the day that she was born, that was just what she knew she wanted to do. I have another friend who growing up was like, I want to be a nurse. And today she's a nurse. And so it's just like some people, it's like they just know what they want to do from the beginning and they just go after it, accomplish it, and live it. That's not my story. That was not my journey. So if you know me, you know that I went to a technical high school. So the technical high school, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically they have different trades. So you can do plumbing, you can do culinary, you can do automotive, auto body. I'm sure that it's probably changed a little bit by now. But when I was going there, they had fashion design and merchandising. So since I was in middle school, I think that's when Project Runway started and became kind of popular, was when I was in middle school, and I used to watch it religiously. And I love fashion. I love everything about fashion. I'm more into unique fashion than I am into name brands, but I just love the ability to express myself with clothing. Funny story, when I decided to go to the technical high school, part of the reason that I went is because they didn't have a dress code. And so I was very excited to be able to just wear what I want when I want. And I don't know, maybe some of you didn't have to deal with that. I know a lot of public schools have dress codes, a lot don't. It depends where you are, where you live. But where I lived in Waterbury, Connecticut, every high school had a dress code. And this was the only high school without one, where you could wear literally whatever you wanted to school. And that didn't last long by the time I got there. But my sophomore year, they already had decided we had to wear dress code. So that was a whole nother disappointment. But the original reason I went was because I was excited and I wanted to do fashion. So that's kind of where it all started. I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer because I loved clothes. I loved accessories. I loved styling myself. I loved dressing people up. It was just something that I really enjoyed. So after I graduated, I actually started to doubt myself. It was 2009. I was like, I don't know, most of the only schools that like really provided fashion that I knew of at that time anyway were the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, which I believe is all the way out in California, and then the Fashion Institute of Technology, which was in New York, which isn't far from Connecticut, but it was already an expensive school, and I come from a single parent household, and so it was just very expensive. So once I was getting ready to graduate, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue fashion, but then I also started to second guess myself and feel insecure and feel like, well, what is somebody from Waterbury, Connecticut gonna like produce? Are people actually gonna want what I'm trying to sell them? Am I gonna be good at this? Is this realistic? And just really got in my own head. And just really kind of talked myself out of pursuing that. So then I just decided that I was going to go to college out of state. I didn't want to be in Connecticut anymore, which is so ironic considering I didn't go to the fashion schools because I said it was too expensive. But then I applied to all out of state schools. I got into 3 of the 4 schools that I applied to, but again, money was an issue. So I ended up being home for a semester. So I got my first job. I was 18 at this point. The only reason I didn't have a job in high school was because I did sports. So it was difficult to find a job that would, allow me to only work a certain amount of time and make time for sports and homework and school. And honestly, looking back on it, I don't even think I would have been able to manage that schedule. I wasn't the greatest at scheduling back then. If you ask anybody now, my scheduling skills are amazing. But back then, I was just kind of all over the place. I think I just didn't know how to have a proper schedule. So I got into the schools, but I couldn't afford to go. So then I decided, all right, I guess I'll apply to some schools that are in state. So I ended up applying to Southern Connecticut State University, and I got in. So I started in the spring semester instead of the fall like everyone else. And I decided to go for psychology. So I went there. I was there for about 1.5 years, and I realized very quickly that psychology was not what I wanted to do. And it's funny because the reason I chose psychology was because I just really wanted to, I wanted to help people. My dad committed suicide when I was 10, and I knew that he had a mental illness. I was aware of mental illnesses, and I was aware of depression and things of that nature, but I never, I don't know, I didn't know that much about it. And I really wanted to be able to help people. I wanted to be able to, work with people who were hurting and help them to not want to commit suicide, help them to work through their thoughts and their emotions and process them. And in the Black community, it's getting better now, but psychology is not really a thing. It was kind of like you just kind of get over it. So I just really wanted to be someone that could help with that. But while I was in school, I realized very quickly that it wasn't something that I was in love with. I don't know if it was just a lack of understanding of what you could do with psychology or what psychology was. I knew I didn't want to be a psychiatrist, but I just realized that in order to do anything with psychology, I'd probably need more than a 4-year degree. And when I started doing the math, because like I said, I don't have money. I didn't have money then, especially. I was on student loans. And when I started to do the math and I saw that in order to get a 4-year degree and then get my master's and then a PhD, it would be extremely expensive. And did I have to get the PhD? No, but in my brain, I thought if I'm going to get the master's, what's 2 more years for the PhD? So when I started looking at the hundreds of thousands of dollars that was going to cost without the guarantee of employment, I decided that, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. But I still like working with people. I love people. These are things that are common with any of the career paths that I've taken or, education routes that I've gone on. It was always in common that I loved working with people, that I wanted to help people, and that I liked being creative. So then after I decided I wasn't going to go to Southern anymore, my last semester just kind of did whatever. And I started a YouTube channel, as many did around that time, and decided I was going to, do hair. I will not tell you the name of the YouTube channel because I keep trying to get those videos down because I'm so embarrassed by them. But I decided I was going to try to do hair videos. That didn't really work out, but I decided from there, you know what, I really enjoy doing hair. Maybe this is something I could do. So then I decided to go to cosmetology school. So I went to cosmetology school and very quickly realized that the lack of education for African American hair textures was major. I learned a lot about, how to care for straight hair, wavy hair, loose curly hair, and what products to use and things like that. But when it came to just African American hair and, well, Black people's hair, however you want to call it, but when it came to the kinkier hairstyles, there wasn't, or hair textures, there wasn't a whole lot of education there. So I decided to continue my YouTube education while going to cosmetology school. So I followed a lot of YouTube hair blogs and things like that to learn how to care for my hair texture, how to care for, others' hair textures. So I did that and I graduated, and I actually worked as a hairdresser for about, I want to say, almost a year. But it was really difficult to build a clientele just because I mainly wanted to work with natural hair. And I mean, it was just people didn't really want to pay for the service. And if they did pay for the service, they wanted extensions, wigs, weaves, things of that nature. And those are just things that I wasn't interested in. I was very interested in caring for your hair's health, caring for your natural hair and taking care of that. And obviously protective styles could do that, but it didn't seem like the people that I was interacting with really cared about, the state of their natural hair. They just wanted the style that they wanted. So I decided maybe this isn't for me. And then I actually decided, you know what, let me look into barbering, because I was like, why not? That's another facet. That is something that you learn while you're in cosmetology school. So then I was a barber for about, I want to say, it was 6 months to a year as well. I think it both might have been 6 months. I think I did the hair dressing for about 6 months, and then I did the barber for the last 6 months. And I really enjoyed barbering. I really enjoyed cutting hair. I still do. I'm not like the world's best barber or anything, but I know the basics. And so, yeah, I decided that was going to be the next thing I did until it didn't work out after a while. It just wasn't, again, financially consistent enough. And I was like, all right, so this isn't working. At this time, I had kind of picked up hobbies of making jewelry and just doing things to keep myself occupied because, again, I like to be creative. And so I was like, all right, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but it's clear that I want to have my own business. It's clear that I want to be an entrepreneur, that I want to pursue, employment, self-employment. So then I decided to go back to school, but this time I went to community college and I went for entrepreneurial studies. And so while I was doing my I only did the certificate program, but while I was doing the entrepreneurial studies program, I went through a bunch of different business ideas. What would be most feasible? What wouldn't be? How could I do it with not having money and not being able to get the money that I need to start it up? And so I had a bunch of different ideas. So it started with I wanted to do hair products because, I love doing hair, but then I didn't know what I was doing. So that didn't really work out. Then I thought, maybe I could have something like a cafe where people can go, and kind of like a Panera style place where people can go, they can do their work, but I wanted it to be Christian based. So I wanted to have different studies of scripture there and just a place for people to be creative, maybe do poetry, but it was going to be kind of like a cafe type of vibe with, kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. But then I started thinking about having to buy the building, how I was going to make money, because I don't want to cook a bunch of things for people to buy. And if it's just a cafe where people are coming to study the Bible or to just, do their poetry or their music or whatever, how am I going to make money? And so trying to figure that out was extremely difficult. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing with this. I don't think this is the direction I want to go in. So again, like I said, the other thing that I was always interested in was helping people. I always wanted to help people to just pursue a better lifestyle for themselves, to just be more confident in who they were in order to get to where they wanted to go. So then I thought maybe I can have an organization that focuses on helping young women with their self-esteem and discovering what it is that they want to do. So that was kind of more towards the nonprofit area. And so as I thought about that, I was just kind of like, well, how do I do that? Where do I find those people? How do I make this happen? And so I didn't fully give up on that idea, but I was kind of like, I don't think this is a great start for a first business. Maybe this is something that, I have to take more time to think about And maybe that'll be something that I'll do later in life, once I feel like I have more wisdom. Because at this point, I think I was maybe 21, probably. Yeah, 21. Just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, maybe 22. But yeah, it was just a lot to think about. So then I was like, okay, when was the last time I was passionate about something? Something that I spent hours doing and just really enjoyed it. And I never got weary or burnt out or felt, tired by it. And I came back to fashion. So I remembered how much I enjoyed sewing and how much I enjoyed making clothes and starting from this big square block or rectangle block of fabric and ending up with a garment. And so then I decided, you know what, maybe I can do some type of custom clothing line. So at this point, it was right before I was about to graduate. It was in 2017 and graduate with the certificate for entrepreneurial studies. And I had decided, you know what, I'm going to pursue a fashion business. So part of the process for graduating for entrepreneurial studies is you have to put together a business plan. You have to apply for a website. There's just all these different steps that you do to learn how, or not apply for a website, but apply for basically get your business registered with the state and all of that stuff. So I did all of that and set up, my business plan and everything like that. And I was like, all right, I got this. What I'm going to do is after I graduate, I'm going to have a fashion show. That's going to be my graduation party. And it'll kind of showcase all of the things that, I've worked on and just really celebrate. And I think I kind of rushed into it. I don't think I really thought through like how to make this work. I don't think I thought through. Well, I also, you know what it is? I didn't know what to think through. I tried to do research. I tried to, find things, but I didn't really know what it was like. So I was like, you know what? I'll just jump in and see where this goes. So I jumped in and I started my my clothing business. And I also had jewelry that I included in this. So I think I also took on a lot, but I had decided this was going to be a custom clothing business. I was going to, have some things that I've already made just to show people what my skills were. And then from there, people could buy things from me. They can decide what they wanted. I'll take their measurements and do all this stuff. So it started off really slow. Not a whole lot of people were super interested. I don't know, it's just easier to buy stuff at the store. But also, if you're getting something custom made, it takes more money, time, etc. So yeah, but while I was running this business, I was also working a full-time job. So it was very difficult to try to maintain the amount of, effort and time it took to put into this type of business and also work a full-time job and also try to live my own personal life. I couldn't figure out the balance. And then I ended up getting really sick. Oh, well, no, let me backtrack a little bit. So then I ended up, a friend of mine had introduced me to a friend of hers who was getting married, and she asked me to make skirts for the wedding. And I was really excited because this was going to be my first job that I've done, the first big one. And it was going to be, kind of what showed what I could do. And so I was really excited. But I ended up getting really sick, and I was unable to basically work the full-time job and put into the garments what needed to be done. And it just ended up, I didn't do a great job, and I can admit that. And then there was just a lot that happened. There was a lot of different factors, a lot of different things that got in the way. And long story short, I ended up giving the woman her refund and just kind of apologizing and, for what happened. And, that kind of scarred me. I kind of was like, I failed. I really didn't do great. I really let these people down. And, the woman who had hired me, she was very kind, but she had a woman that was helping her with her wedding that was very nasty towards me and just treated me like I wasn't human. And so it really took a toll on me. I got really insecure. I got really hurt by it. And I kind of just wanted to disappear and just act like I didn't try to do any of this because it was really hard. And so I stepped back from that and I was like, I don't know if maybe I just need to stick to just working a regular job. I was like, maybe, that's just what I need to do. So I didn't focus on my business for about maybe a year or two and was just kind of like, we'll see what happens. I don't think this is for me. Maybe I got in too deep. Maybe this just isn't, what is in the cards, and that's okay. So I was really discouraged, and I decided to focus on just working my full-time job at the shipping company. I decided I was going to move up in the company, that I was just going to find my place there, figure out what I wanted to do there long term, and that was just going to be my life. I was just going to work for the shipping company because it was easy, and I would just move up in the company, maybe do HR, figure out what my path was going to be, and go from there. So I did that. So this was, so like I said, this was back in like probably 2018, 2019. And I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. So for that next 2 years, I just focused on that. And I moved up pretty quickly in the company. I got lots of awards. I got lots of acknowledgments, and, I got recognized for my hard work, but I wasn't happy. I hated my job. I hated being there. I hated going there every day. I didn't want to take on more responsibility. It was miserable, but I felt like this is it. This is all I can do. So then a friend of mine actually encouraged me to put my jewelry on a website. They really loved what I had been making, and they just wanted they were like, if you had a place where like people could go and they could look and, they could see what you have, like I feel like you would get so much support and da-da-da. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of was just really discouraged and I just kind of wanted to disappear into the background, and I didn't really want anybody to recognize that I had tried to do this. So I prayed about it, and I was like, you know what? Whatever. What can I lose? So I asked a friend of mine who my sister, well, actually, I knew his wife from college, but I asked a friend of mine, how could you help me with this? Is there a way that we can do a website where it's not going to cost me a lot of money, because I'm not sure how invested I am. I just want to just put this website up, see what happens with it. So he helped me. I set it up, and it actually, to my surprise, it was very successful. I mean, a lot of people were interested in what I had. It was fun, and it was something easy. It was carefree. And so I started focusing on that. I started making more jewelry and posting it on the website, and just, really investing more time. I set up my schedule so that when I got out of work, there were specific days that I was able to work on the business, and there were specific days and time frames that I dedicated to working on the business. And then eventually work just started to get really stressful, because around this time, it was probably about 2020 now, and, everything was starting to shut down. And so it just got really hard to try to do the business, but also go to work during a pandemic and deal with the stressors at work. It just got really emotionally overwhelming. And so for the last year or so, I haven't really focused a whole lot of attention on the business. I haven't, made things. I didn't feel creative. I didn't feel encouraged. There was just a lot. I think 2020, like, I deserved the break. It was just a lot. And so, as you guys know, I left that job at the end of 2020. And so when I left that job, I had decided, okay, so this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, obviously. And I still don't want to work for someone else. Like, I still don't want to just give all of my time and money and just energy to a place that I feel like doesn't really care about me. So as I was thinking about leaving, I was also thinking about what is it that I want to do for the rest of my life? Because clearly this ain't it. So I went back to school again. So I went back to the community college, and this time I did a lot of research before I went back. I really thought about like what it was I wanted to do, how I wanted to help people, how I wanted to be creative, how I wanted to just utilize the things that I was good at to help others. And so I decided to go back to school for human services. And the reason I decided to go back to school for human services is, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I was like, I'll get my associates and then we'll go from there. But basically, I was like, I want to be able to help people, and I want to have the credentials to know what I'm doing when I'm trying to help people. And I want to do it well. So I went back to school during a pandemic, and Well, actually, I went back right before the pandemic and was still going during the pandemic. And so, yeah, so I started going and doing the human service classes, and I really enjoyed it. It was the first time that, like, I was in school and I actually enjoyed what I was doing, and I felt excited about it and was like, yes, this is where I want to be. So I did that. And then because I switched jobs at the end of 2020, I took a break because one, 2020 was really rough. Um, I worked the entire time, and the job that I was working already was a toxic environment. So then during 2020, it just got really bad. And so I decided to take that break while I started my new job and just adjusting into the new job, and adjusting to this new schedule and, just getting used to learning the job and things of that nature. And so while I was there, I realized that it was going to be very difficult for me to do this job and go to school and have the lifestyle outside of that I wanted. And so I really started to think about how I was going to go about it. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to really focus on that right now. I'm just going to focus on doing the best that I can for this job, which again, you can see a pattern. It's like I start doubting myself. I start, becoming insecure. I start, rethinking, like, is this something I can do? Is this something I want to do? Is this something I'm going to be good at? And then I kind of like, push it off on the back burner and say, you know what, we'll deal with that later. So again, I'm at this job. It was a great job. The environment was great. The people that I worked with were great. I didn't have any complaints other than the fact that they were understaffed. But it did take a toll on me mentally and emotionally. I don't think, like I think I said in the first podcast, I don't think I ever really, stopped and really processed what I had been going through. And so that kind of brings us to where we are now. It brings me to this time period. It's funny because while I was working, I had decided, like, you know what, it'd be so cool to start a podcast. Like, that'd be something I'd be really like interested in doing, because my whole life I've always wanted to share my story. I've always wanted to either write a book or, a memoir or something, but it was kind of like, but what am I going to write about? And how do you even start something like that? And what does that even look like? And so I'd never done it because I was just like, I don't know. I don't really know how to go about that. And so when I started really thinking, plus I didn't want to know what to write. I didn't want to go through that whole process, and I didn't know like how to get people to buy that book anyway. So then I decided, you know what, my story is so unique, and it's so like, I feel like I've been through a lot in the last 30 years. I feel like my life has been very interesting and I've learned a lot. And I feel like God could really use this. So I was like, maybe I should start a podcast. Maybe, somebody would be interested in listening to my story, and it could encourage them and help them to like figure something out for their own lives. Help them to see that like they're not alone, that they aren't, just stepping into life, like just doing everything for the first time. And so, so when I got ready to start the podcast, I kind of, again, second guessed myself and was like, but I don't really know like how to start this. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I don't know if I'd be any good at it or if anybody would even want to listen, or do I really want to be that deep and open about my life to a bunch of people that maybe I do know them, but maybe I don't. And I was just very nervous about it. So I prayed about it, and I had been praying about it because I didn't want to just jump into it like I had done in the past. I didn't want to just go, okay, this is something I like. I'm going to run after it, and I'm just going to do it, and I'm just going to start it, and it's just going to be awesome, and and I'll figure it out as I go, because I learned from the fashion business that not only did that not work, but it was very discouraging. Like, that was really hard for me. So I took my time. I think I told you guys before that my church started doing these generation to generation meetings where we talk about how we can work with the old generation and, improve upon the places that maybe they fell short, but maintain the areas where they did really great, and vice versa, improve upon the places where we fall short and maintain the areas where we do great. And so one day we were at one of those meetings, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can help the church with their podcast. Maybe I can, do something with them that, encourages people. That would be a great place to start. And maybe I can, reach out to somebody to help me to figure this out. So that's what I did. I sat down with one of the ministers in my church, and he helped me to figure out how to start a podcast, platforms to use. And I had kind of done some research, so I kind of knew some of the stuff that he was talking about, but he went a little bit more in depth. And so I started doing that. And then right in the midst of doing that podcast is when I got sick and when I started having the tremors and the anxiety and illness with my body or whatever. And so I took a little break after doing 4 episodes with them. And by the way, it's called the Tell Your Story segment of the SoCon podcast. So if you want to check that out, I will be getting back to that podcast as well. But yeah, so basically I basically was like, all right, I just need to take a full break and really focus on my health. So I'm still out of work and I stopped doing that podcast for a little bit and just kind of really decided to spend that time with God and to ask God like what it is that he wanted me to do, to really just focus on hearing his voice and spending that time with him and just getting clarity on the directions I should go in, being patient and not just jumping into something. And so that's how we ended up where we are today. That's how I ended up starting the Discovering Me podcast. And it really is just about discovering who I am and just really working through all the things that I've been through, and really processing that mentally and what that means and what that, what that looks like. And so I'm excited to be doing this podcast. I really do feel like this is where God wants me. I really do feel like this is how God wants me to utilize my voice. As I was doing the Gen to Gen things, I think I told you guys before that, they started doing, figuring out what your gifts are. And exhorter was one of my gifts. I really love encouraging people and helping people. And, I really enjoy just pushing people to be the best them that they could be. So I feel like this platform is going to be awesome. I plan on doing some creative things with it that I don't want to reveal just yet, but I'm finding ways to include all the things that I enjoy into this without feeling, I guess, like I have no control over it. Because before with the fashion, it was like, I really love sewing, but like, I don't like sewing certain things, and doing hair. It was like, I really love doing hair, but I don't like doing certain things with hair. So it's like really just identifying like what I really want to do, like identify and like being okay with not wanting to do certain things, and being okay with saying like, okay, like if I want to be creative, but the things that I'm creating people don't want, that's okay. Like I can keep that for myself and find a different way to, meet the needs of the people around me. So I feel like I'm finally honing in on that, whatever that is. I'm honing in on figuring out, okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. I feel like I have a clearer path. And there's going to be some fashion elements to this. There's going to be some creative elements. There's going to be, I just envision a bigger thing for this than what it is right now. So I'm really excited, and I hope you guys will stick with me through the process. And really, I just wanted to share this part of my journey so that if there's anyone out there who just really doesn't know what they want to do, it's okay. I feel like in our society, it's like as soon as you graduate high school, you're expected to know what you want to do until you're 60 and you retire, or 70 or whatever. But no, like it's okay if you don't know what you want. It's okay if you're still figuring it out. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like I said, I just turned 30. And I feel like I'm just now kind of reaching the idea of what I'd like to do. And, I don't know exactly what that path is going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to get to the final result. But I do know that I am on the right path. I feel like this is the most secure I've felt in my relationship with God, in my vision. And honestly, this is the first time I've had a huge vision. I feel like in the past, my vision was a carbon copy of what I've seen and like, oh, that would be cool to have. But this is the first time I'm creating a vision for myself. The first time that I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. And this is the direction I want to go in. And this is how I want to go about it. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. I could talk about it forever. But I don't know if you guys would want to listen forever. So that's where I'm at. This is my journey. I'm embracing my journey. I used to be very insecure about it. I used to always call myself a jack of all trades and a master of none. And that just used to make me feel really bad until I realized that it's okay to like many things, And then also it's funny because recently I heard the rest of that phrase, and it's a jack of all trades is a master of none, but a jack of all trades is better than a master of one. And so, not to say that anybody who has their one thing that they're interested in is less than, but like, it just made me feel better about myself to know that, like, oh, like, it's okay to not have one thing that I really love and that's the only thing I want to do, because I feel like that's what I've tried to do my entire life is like put myself in this box of, okay, this is what I'm doing. I need to focus on this only and that's it. But no, like, there's a bunch of things that I enjoy and there's a bunch of things that I want to do with my life. And it's just finding a way to make those things work. Um, and to make the world accept them the way they are. Like, I feel like I'm going to get to use my creativity. I'm going to get to use all the different gifts that God gave me in different ways. And if I don't know exactly what that looks like right now, that's okay. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please follow Discovering Me. Come back. I'm available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts now. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm hoping you guys will continue to listen, that you'll continue to enjoy. I want to do some more interactive stuff. Follow me on Instagram at Natural Nori. And yeah, check me out. And if you have questions or you want to reach out to me, please feel free to send me a direct message, a DM, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, but just send me a message. If you have questions, I do want to set up some things that you guys can interact with me with. So yeah, so I really hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope it encourages you and inspires you. Have a great day.